I was having a lot of trouble trying to think of a way to like come up here and open, because you know, normally when a stand-up comedian comes up, they're like, "Hey everybody, it's so great to be here in San Diego," and that would just be weird because I know all of you guys. So I was thinking about it, you know, something that we all can relate to, right? And I was like, oh, we're all in college and we all have grades. So I was thinking about grades, and I was thinking about myself, you know. I've had really good grades in high school. I graduated towards the top of my class. I've done really well in college, but one thing I know, I'm sure you guys know too, is just because you have really good grades doesn't mean you're actually smart. See, myself is a great example of that. Just the other day, I was at my church and I was talking with some friends, and one of my friends, she's involved in a ministry that goes into raves, and they actually help people. They'll call the ambulance for like people who are overdosing. They'll take girls home so sex traffickers don't pick them up, and different things like that. It's really cool. And they were talking about how they're going to go to this rave on 420, and they were talking about it, and they were like, "Yeah, Sarah, you know what 420 is, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, isn't it Cinco de Mayo?" And they started laughing at me. I was like, "Oh, silly me, it must be Mother's Day." And it took me 5 minutes to realize, one, that Cinco de Mayo literally translates to the 5th of May. And it was 3 weeks after that that I actually found out what 420 is, which for those of you who don't know, it's a marijuana happy hour holiday or something. So that's just an example of one of my blonde moments, as I call them. I have other blonde moments too. For example, driving. No, don't get me wrong. I'm a good driver. I mean, I only crashed twice in the first month, but I'm a great driver. You know, one area though I do have a little trouble in is parking. I live in an apartment complex, and my family has 2 cars, and we get one spot in front of our apartment, and then we have to park on the street. And I live in the city too, and so in the city we have to deal with a lot of different colored curbs. Like, for example, we have a handicap curb across the street where neighbors park their motorcycle with a placard. Never understood that. And then there's this one spot, and it's just big enough for one car. And on the end of it is, well, on the front of it, there is a driveway for my neighbor. And on the other side of it is literally a 1.5 foot red zone. It's like this big. You know, and I think it's very important in the city that we have 1.5 feet red zones. Because you never know when a 5-year-old boy can come in with his fire truck and be like, "Oh, perfect, here's a spot for my fire truck." So anyways, one day I was parking in this spot, and I was, you know, checking my mirrors, and I'm really funny. Like I said, I have trouble when I'm parking, so I have to get out, you know, and I put the brake on. Well, I put it in park first. Then I put the brake on, and then I get out and I check it, and then I do that, you know, I don't know, like 5 or 6 times just to make sure I get it right. So I was focusing so much this one day on missing that red zone. You know, I was looking at my mirrors and checking it. And finally I was like, yes, I got it set, so I got my stuff out. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go inside, eat a cookie. And then I started walking, and I looked back and I realized that I had spent so much time missing that little red zone that I had completely parked across my neighbor's driveway. Yeah. But you know, I love living with my parents. It's a lot of fun, and you know, you get free rent. I get a good deal. Like, when you're supposed to do stuff around the house, I'm still working on that one. But the other day, I went to clean the house, and I was gonna vacuum, and I was glad to finally like do something. And so I got the vacuum out, and I found out our vacuum broke. It stopped sucking. It really sucked, but that day, I was really excited because we got our new one, and I turned it on, and I was like, oh my gosh, it sucks too! Yeah, I put that one on Facebook. I got a few likes. And speaking of Facebook, I love Facebook. Like, it's one of my favorite things, you know, because Facebook is great, right? You can stalk people, yeah, but you know, my mom, she's a little tech challenged, but she got a Facebook over a year ago, and it was really cool. and she still doesn't have a profile picture. She has a faceless Facebook. But yeah, she told me one day, she's like, Sarah, did you see the comment on your status? And I was like, no, I'll have to check. So I went and checked, and I was like, no, Mom, there's no comment on my status from you. And she was like, oh, but I typed it in, I put in there. And remembering that she's a little tech challenge, I was like, well, you hit enter, right? And she goes, you have to hit enter? And I was like, yeah. And she was, so that's why no one ever responds to my comments. But she gets me back too. Like, one day she was on Facebook again, and she saw this picture. It was actually a couple months ago, and she kept reading it to me. She's like, Sarah, Facebook is going to be closed February 29th, 30th, and 31st. And I started freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, what? I can't live without Facebook for 3 days. Why are they doing this to me? And she just kept reading it. Sarah, Facebook is going to be closed. It's going to be shut down February 29th, 30th, and 31st. And I was like, no. And just freaking out for like 5 minutes. And then I finally realized, nothing exists on February 29th, 30th. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know about some things, but there's other things that I do know about. For example, church. I mentioned earlier I'm a Christian. I love God, like I know about church and God and stuff, and I believe that Jesus died on the cross and he rose again for you, and you have an opportunity because of that to really meet with God and to really have a relationship with him, and it's really cool.